sir. Yes, sir. Welcome to a new edition of the Sports Shop 27. I'm your host, Jermaine Coulter, and today's special guest, we got a national champion in the house tonight. This guy right here played
Wildcats
with the Arizona Wildcats. He was teammates with Mike Bibby, Jason Terry, head coach Luke Olson. These guys took it all the way in the tournament, knocked off the top 3 seeds to win the national championship, which was North Carolina, Kansas, and Kentucky. All right. This guy averaged about 9 points a game, 8.5 rebounds. He played overseas in the NBL. Y'all give it up for Mr. Bennett. Davison.
Good evening.
What's
going on, how's it going?
Bennett? Hey, I'm glad to have you on the show. For the people that don't know you, let them know a little bit about your background, where you're from.
Okay. Yeah, do you mind if I get this whole interview started the proper way?
Yeah.
There we go. Put that to the side. Yeah, pleasure. No, thank you for having me. I know we've been talking for the last 2 months, so it's been a build-up. I was like, man, I got to wait 2 months to have an interview? Man, this guy must have a good show going on. So thank you for supporting me, and I'm glad I could help you in any way possible.
I appreciate it, Bennett.
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on the show. So let everybody know where you're from and a little bit about your background.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm from California, mostly that whole West Coast. I had an amazing childhood. My father was from Mississippi. Mother was from Ohio. Dad is black. Mom is white. So that's why I got this nice tan skin. I'm about to lose it. It's winter here down in Dallas. But I grew up mostly on the beaches of California playing soccer. From the ages of 6, my mother always said, she's like, all of her therapists and all the older people like, Judy, do not try to contain his energy, just redirect it. And so that's what she did. She got me into soccer. There's a ball, go chase it. I'll see you in 2 hours when you're tired. And really got into the Olympic tryout teams in Northern California. And then my parents got divorced and remarried, went from the age of 4, and then 11, they got remarried, and we moved up to Northern California, Sebastopol, California.
Okay.
About an hour north of San Francisco. And then the nighttime just started getting too cold and started kicking the ball. I couldn't feel my toes. I thought I broke toes and all that stuff out there. So I was like, I need to go indoors. This freezing stuff isn't working for me. So I transitioned into basketball, but good thing I ended up being 6'7" as a 17-year-old in a small town of 6,000 people. So that's my backstory.
What? So what was it like? What was it growing up in the 70s with the in California? What was the atmosphere like?
Oh, it was skateboards. I grew up on the coast, right next to Santa Barbara Junior College. So I was on the Sandpipers, and if you don't know Santa Barbara, there's a junior college with a bunch of bleachers, and we used to train those every single day. We did a lot of community work, a lot of soup kitchens, a lot of beach cleaning up, where we'd have 18, 20 kids lined up along the side, and we just walked for 2 miles and cleaning up trash. A lot of community outreach, but it was also a lot of playing soccer on the beach, bodyboarding, boogie boarding, that type of stuff. Me and my younger sister, we'd go down to the beach, and Mom would meet us there later. She was a teacher for kindergarten. So for me, with a mother as a teacher and a athlete student, I wasn't much of a student athlete. I prioritized athleticism over education, but that's kind of one of those things you got to put up with it if you want to be able to play sports. So did that, was raised by a single mother, and around the ages 11 and 12, Dad came back in our life, and he said, hey, boy, you can't act like this. I'm about to teach you how to be a man. And I was very blessed to be able to have an amazing father that came back into my life and changed it for the better.
All right. So growing up, did you looked up to anyone in your family, any other sibling, or did you model your game, your athleticism to a professional athlete? Who did you look up to?
Yeah, I mean, I actually tried playing basketball when I was about 8, 9 years old because I was so tall. Didn't like it. I think I scored 2 points, and then the last game I scored 18 out of 20 points, and I was like, nah, I don't like this. I like soccer. So really, my cousin Jeremy Taylor. My mom has an older brother, a twin brother, and a younger brother, and her older brother David had a oldest son, Jeremy, and he was a goalie, and I just used to go out there and we'd watch him and support him and stuff, and I was like, man, that's what I want to do. And so really got me into that soccer, and him jumping around and diving and seeing all the, I was only about 5, 6 years old, and I'm watching this 12, 13, 14-year-old at a higher level. I was like, man, I don't know if I could ever play that well. These guys are really amazing while we're just doing bitty soccer, kicking the ball around. So my cousin Jeremy.
All right. So did you play any sports other than soccer in
Nope.
basketball?
I skateboarded. I used to do the tide pools in Santa Barbara. I did track and field.
Okay.
I did a lot of that, just, the 100-meter dash, the 400 meters, long jump, discus. So I grew up pretty much anything that could get me out of the house. I mean, there was one day that my mom would be like, Bennett, I love you, but I don't care where you go. You just can't be in the house. You got to be outside. Here's something to eat and go do something. You got too much energy. So it was a lot of just bike ramps, skateboards, really in the 70s and 80s in Santa Barbara. Was those OP shorts where you got the thigh highs, the Magic Johnson or John Stocktons.
Yep.
It was 85 degrees, 90 degrees every day in Santa Barbara. We were surfing. It was exquisite. If you've ever been to Santa Barbara, it's a beautiful spot. So I had a great childhood growing up there.
Okay, cool. So I know the 80s was a tough time in Los Angeles and in California with gangs and all those type of things. Did you ever run into any situations growing up at a young age in those areas?
Yeah, Santa Barbara was really about 2 hours north. I probably had 50% of my student class was Hispanic.
Okay.
We go down to Santa Barbara, but it was mostly like Santa Monica, Simi Valley, things like that. I was actually watching that show that Colin Kaepernick had put out, and really it was like, okay, let me see how I can relate to another half black, half white professional athlete. And it was really strange to me because I never looked at it that way. I never listened to it. I was always water off a duck's back. If something happened, someone would try to throw an elbow at me in the game, or someone would try, jab, step, cross, and swing an elbow. My dad always said, he's like, you can react, but the smarter person gets back with their actions. And so my biggest thing when I was younger, that dad had to come back and, boy, you can't act like this. Hey, Dad, why are you taking your belt off? I'm about to tell you why I'm taking my belt off. You're about to feel this because this isn't the way you act. You can't put your hands on other people. So for me, his lessons of saying, hey, I'm your father. I'm going to teach you how to act right in public and high stress situations really got me to the level that I was at, because it was watching that Colin Kaepernick show. I didn't see any of that stuff. It might've been there, but I didn't care. I was floating through the ether. I mean, I got a 5-second attention span. So
I understand. So you say middle school, high school, you transitioned to basketball, correct?
Yep. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. It was soccer, basketball, baseball. Dad was there. I was like, hey, let's just do everything. And so we had a really close niche of soccer people, but we also had amazing soccer coaches. There was a family of 4 or 5 brothers. 2 played for like the German national team for soccer, and they were just insane. So we actually went undefeated 2 years in a row with Brennan Brown and Ernesto Aubin and Gabe Boyd and all these guys, Zach Hyde and all these guys. And we would go to the city of San Francisco, because we're 6,000 people. Santa Rosa's over here. It's like 500,000 people, and we had to drive an hour. And this is up in Northern California in Sebastopol. And we would have to go to the city to look for competition. We would go to summer camps and we would run 2.5 miles up a hill just before the beginning to get us ready for the soccer season. So we really had coaches that really got us ready. On the basketball side of things, I was a very late bloomer, being from that small town of, no joke, 6,000 hippies, where all the women have hairy legs and hairy armpits. We're in the redwood trees. Every car is a Volkswagen or a Prius. Like it's all those 50s and 60s burnout. So you're walking past people and they got, a little vapor trail of BO because they don't believe in deodorant and all that type of stuff. So it's a very eclectic and artsy kind of place. I love it to death. But we had to get out of there. So we would have to be able to find competition just because we were just beating people 6-0, that type of stuff in soccer games.
Cool. So growing up, I know you played a lot of sports. What was your favorite food to eat back then? What were your pre-games like?
Actually, nutrition. I was actually just teaching this to my kids here in Dallas, Texas. I actually teach freshmen to seniors, and I'm at Pioneer Technology Arts Academy, and we do a lot of IT preparation for sophomores, juniors, and seniors, medical terminology, social work, anything to be able to get these kids into a trade, giving them the information so that they know exactly what they want. So for me being a teacher, nutrition is very key. And I was playing when I was younger, I would get these headaches. You wake up, Mom, I only want some Lucky Charms. I want this and that. And then halftime we get an orange, and I'm like, oh, I got this screaming headache. So a lot of these other male influences, because a single mother's raising a young boy, she wanted to surround me with a lot of athletic, professional Christian men. And so in doing so, she's like, you need to start eating bacon, eggs, things that longer burning carbohydrates. I kind of tell my kids, anything that sits in water and gets soggy within a minute is processed. It's squeezed out of a machine. So you put a chicken breast or anything like that, vegetable or fruit, it's going to stay there. So for me, it was the natural stuff. Mom wanted me to be 6'8", 240 pounds solid, but I had a craving. I had a sugar craving. I would love lemon heads and Butterfingers and Twixes before games. And then I was like, maybe I got to, just before games, I got to eat a little bit better. For me, it was always just pancakes, bacon, and eggs. I love that. That's a great staple. You start out your mornings at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock playing games. You eat a breakfast like that at 7 or 8 o'clock, you'll be good till lunchtime.
All right. Well, let's talk about high school. As soon as you get to high school, did you still play soccer, track, and basketball?
No, it was actually one of those things. I was a sophomore in high school. I didn't even have basketball shoes. Try to find a pair of size 15 basketball shoes in a small town where they don't even have size 12 or 13s in their athletic store. So then I'd have to go talk to my mom's teacher, whose daughter went to University of Oregon, and she started working for Nike. So she would send me out 4 or 5 different pairs of size 15s, but they're the worst color patterns you could ever imagine. It was like African Boombata, cross colors. Some were like all white, so they got stained really easy, and I'd wear those to school, to church, to youth group, to everything. So one of my friends, he's like, you need some basketball shoes. Came back the next week. He's like, you can dunk. I bet you can dunk right now. I was like, nah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing. He's like, just try. I was like, and I just jumped and I dunked, and I was like, wow, that's pretty easy. And I've never really tried because I was so focused on soccer and never really knew what was out there because nobody else in our town could dunk. So being indoors was great. Basketball was just one of those things, naturally athletic. I'm very tactilely, I guess, advanced or something, or talented. So getting into a small town, learning basketball around not a big basketball community, I felt like I was held back a little bit. But that's where I went to junior college, and I had a coach that kicked my butt. I needed it. I needed it so bad. It was like those days Dad would say, Dad, why are you taking the belt off? My junior college coach was like that. He's like, no, there's a wall you run through. And it's like, yes, coach, I'm going to do it. And I entrusted him in everything that I did when I really learned basketball after high school.
So let's rewind back a little bit. Your sophomore year in high school,
yeah.
Did you start right away, or did you play JV, B team?
Yeah, so I was a freshman, Coach Anthony Robinson, and then I was a sophomore with Coach Brett Page. And then one guy, Gabe Boyd, he already had armpit hair and like a mustache, and I didn't have any of that stuff. I was a late bloomer, and so I got held back because I didn't look younger. But then we would practice with the senior team, but then in the games in junior and as a JV. To backtrack, I actually had to sit out for the 2 months, January and February in the second semester, because I had a 1.8 grade point average. I just couldn't figure it out. So for me, I actually learned, and I'll probably get into this later, is that the education and the athletics go side by side. You can't do one without the other. So for me, I learned the hard way, and my dad's like, nope, you're going to go sit on the bench. You're going to go sit behind the game, and people are going to ask you, why didn't you play this game? It's like, because I'm not smart enough to pay attention in class. He's like, exactly. So those are the lessons that I've learned with having my dad set me straight. But then I went to varsity. But every year I had a different coach, and there really wasn't a system. So that was where the soccer, I had amazing coaches, and that build up in a system of high intellect and IQ, whereas basketball was like pass, screen away, just be tall and athletic. But it was really my second year of actually being on a basketball team as a sophomore and a junior in high school.
Okay. So it clicked for you in your junior year in high school. Who were some of the players that were actually pretty good on your team at the time? Talk about your team.
Brendan Brown was a good shooter. Gabe Boyd, Aaron Brewer, Ernesto Alman. All the guys that played soccer, we also played baseball together. We played basketball together. We used to go fishing trips together. We'd go skiing together. We'd do golf together. So we're always doing those athletic things together. The one thing is that junior and a senior that I could highly recommend for anybody to do is leave. Once the basketball school year is over, find a junior college, go play against some college or some professional players. Go out there, get your butt handed to you, go out there and have some dude cross you over, dunk on 2 people, stand on the baseline, grab a 40 ounce, take a swig of his beer, and run back and go block a shot off the backboard. I was like, yo, you got to teach me how to do that. Or even just, how do you tap it on the backboard and reverse it? How do you do a 360? What's the placement? And being in Sebastopol, I didn't know, and it was only about 20, 30 minutes away. But then I would go to the junior college after basketball season. I would leave track practice. I would never show up to track practice. I only showed up to the track meets. But I'm going against these kids. Eugene Battle. He was Coach Carter. He was a player from Oakland. So he was one of the players from Coach Carter in that movie. He was there. He was amazing. We go out and play summer leagues, and he would just pull me to the side and just give me little strategies, things like that. So finding a place where people are better than you and you can emulate and try to copy, I highly recommend that for any high school kids, whatever sport or whatever passion you have.
Okay. What conference or division were you guys in high school? Were you 4A?
I think it was division 4 or 5. Like I said, we were 6,000. Our whole high school was 1,200 people. So my graduating class was 250, 280. I know there's people maybe listening to this. I only had a graduation class of 15, or, I had one that was 2,000, maybe here in Duncanville in Texas. But it was a town of 6,000. It's still 6,000 people 25, 30 years later. We have a lot to choose from. In those small towns, some of you have like 3 or 4 years of amazing basketball and sports, and the next it just drops off because there's just nobody that's really into athletics those years. So you got to be able to have a development type of stuff.
Okay. So who was some of the competition in y'all region?
We had Sonoma. We had Bobby Alexander, John from Sonoma. We had we went go down to Petaluma, Healdsburg. So we had that whole northern Cazadero, Sonoma County, Sonoma, Napa, Petaluma, Novato, Marin. So that whole northern California, everything pretty much 30 minutes north of the Golden Gate Bridge.
Okay, cool.
So it was like you would. If I name dropped, you guys wouldn't have a clue who the heck I'm talking about.
I feel you. So did you guys make it in the playoffs in your high school career?
Well, just like being in track, I come in that regional track meets. I'd always finish first or second, but then you go to Oakland, and these guys be training. On that last 400 meters, you're running, and then you get on that last straightaway, the parachutes come out. You can't breathe. You start seeing those little fairies floating around, and these dudes are all passing you. So just like in our basketball, we would always finish first or second with Sonoma. And all of a sudden, we go to the playoffs, and we just get routed, from the inner city people, inner city teams from Oakland or Pinole Valley or things like that. So funny little story is we're playing in one of those games where we have to go down to Pinole Valley. And, Sebastopol is a bunch of burnouts, a bunch of Bernie Sanders and stuff like that. So I'm in Oakland, and it's a 98% black and Hispanic. And I go I walk in the gym, and I'm like, Dad, man, I don't think I can play. These guys got beards. They got armpit hair. They're going to kill me. He's like, man, don't you worry. You just go in there and do what you're supposed to do. So by the halftime, I had like 2 or 3 dunks on a fast break. And my dad tells me a story after the game. He's like, he's walking in the bathroom. And he said, he hears all these guys talking at halftime. He's like, man, you see that white boy jumping? He's dunking and embarrassing the crap out of us. And so he started chuckling. And he's like, yeah, that's my boy. He's like, man, that ain't your son. He's like, yep, that's my son. There's my wife. There's my white wife right there. He's like, he's not a white boy. So he started chuckling and thought that was one of the funniest things he'd ever heard. And we came out and ended up beating him. But that was just a funny story of just being so isolated and being, no joke, a square. I mean, I was going to church youth groups, soup kitchens, tutors, basketball, soccer. They try to keep me out of all kinds of trouble, and sports definitely did that. So going against bigger, better quality players was something I needed. But that junior college got me ready for it because I was playing against inner city kids and better quality talent.
How your parents doing now, Bennett?
They are kicking and scratching. They're doing great.
That's great.
They still live there. Dad is about 85.
What?
He's got all his wits, but he forgets to cut his hair, so he kind of has that nutty professor and a little bald strip, not a little bald strip, but he's got those little wings, side wings. So he's like, son, you cut my hair. It's like, yeah, I haven't been home in 2 years. You ain't cut it since then? No. So he's just a funky old dude. He goes to the horse races and watches the horse track. Mom is teaching. She's I think 77. She's down in Los Angeles, and we made a kind of a mess up today where my oldest daughter, Maya Lardner, is at Georgetown, but last year they played Pepperdine in Los Angeles. This year they go back to Washington, D.C. So they basically drove down to L.A. to see the game, and they didn't look at the location and just missed the game type of thing. So she's doing good. She's active, still substituting, and she's finishing her 46th year of teaching.
Man,
so they're awesome.
That's awesome. So did you get selected to McDonald's All-American or any All-Star team out of high school?
No. Actually, in high school, those junior and senior years, my parents took Thursdays and Fridays off for about 3 weeks. And remember, we're about an hour north of San Francisco. So we got Cal, Stanford, St. Mary's, Holy Names, Marin, University of San Francisco State, Cal, Stanford, I probably named those. And so we just, University of Pacific over in Stockton, they just get in the car. Hey, we're taking our son to go to colleges, and we would drive to the campus, ask security, where's the basketball gym? Oh, it's over there. We go to the gym, and he's like, where's the basketball coach? Oh, it's over there. We go in the gym, and hi, I'm Al Davison. My son is a talent, and here's a cassette tape. Would you watch him? And do you guys have a scholarship? The coach is like, who are you? And this isn't how the whole process works. Hey, why don't you guys go check out a junior college? And so as I'm visiting, I think we went to 7 or 8 schools, and St. Mary's, Cal, Stanford, Santa Clara, all those schools, they're like, hey, go to a junior college. We're like, well, what do we do what's a junior college? What does that mean? And so they're like, here's a couple junior colleges. I was not going to go to the Santa Rosa one because Dad's like, hey, all these Sonoma County basketball all-stars, they're all there. They're all going to go to junior college. He's like, you're not going here. You're getting out of town. You got to go play against a better competition. And that's another insight that a mother might not see, but a dad's like, no, you need to go out there and get your butt kicked even more than what you have been. Keep constantly moving forward. Keep progressing. So one name that came up was Hartnell down in Salinas, which is a 3-hour drive, and then San Jose, which is a 2-hour drive. And we fell in love with Bob Burton and West Valley Junior College in Saratoga, San Jose. So we're pushed up against the Santa Cruz Mountains right there and Highway 17, and it was amazing. I had a coach that was like, you are going to run. If your man catches the ball inside the 3-point line, you have a 17 at the end of practice. So if your guy catches the ball inside the 3-point line throughout a 2-hour practice every day for like 1 month, you have a 17. So at the end of practice, you're like, he's like, you have your man caught the ball 8 times and you turn the ball over 2 times. You have 10 17s after a 2-hour practice of going full denial and stuff. It's like, well, I got 3 offensive rebounds and I got 2 steals. Okay, 5, you have 5 17s. We get on the line, and if you don't make it in minute 3, sorry guys, it didn't count. He was ruthless. We suffered. I mean, it was one of those things where you're about to, like, you're coughing up a lung and you're just like, the air got sucked out of the room. But a story that I was just telling, because Coach Burton just got his name on the court for the West Valley Junior College, and they just had a ceremony on Thursday of last week, and he had about 40 to 50 people there, alumni, old players, and I had to create a video. That's another little video on YouTube. He really prepared us. Hey, coach, when you go do an interview and you're talking to another coach that may be recruiting you, hey, coach, pleasure to meet you. My name is Bennett Davison. Don't be goofy. Be professional. Sit up straight. Hello, how you doing? Look them in the eyes. A lot of those things. And so beginning of my freshman year, I'm sitting there. I was like, Coach, I'm kind of down. I'm homesick. I almost broke up with my high school sweetheart. That didn't work out. I don't know why. And he's like, come with me. And I said, I don't think I can make it, Coach. These guys are kicking my butt. They're stronger than me. They're putting up 245s on each side. I'm putting up a 35 on one side. I can barely get it up. And he calls my dad and says, hey, Al, Bennett doesn't think he can make it. He's not strong enough. He doesn't think he's good enough as a basketball player. What do you think, Al? And my dad says, I didn't send that sorry sucker down there to redshirt. Get him back out in the gym. Go kick him in the ass. He's like, thank you, Al. That's all I wanted to hear. Puts the phone down. He's like, get back in the gym. He's like, there's no way out. It's like, when explorers, they burn their ship. He's like, hey, we got to stay here. There's no way back. That type of thing. So it was one of those life lessons that it really takes a man, whereas a mother's going to say, hey, let's put some ointment on it, clean it up, put a Band-Aid on it. Dad's like, yo, put some dirt on it, keep playing. So for that junior college, that experience of going out to colleges and being able to be proactive and everything. That's another thing that's always just be proactive. You want something, go get it. You may not get it right away, but knock 2 or 3 times and you'll get something.
That's right. So you go into your sophomore year, your second season in community college.
Yep.
How far did you guys make it in your league?
We actually only lost in 2 seasons. My freshman, we lost 2 preseason games. Didn't lose any regular season games, any playoff games, and we made it to the state championship game. And we played against Riverside in SoCal. So in California, it's NorCal and SoCal JUCOs. We made it to the championship. So they get 2 years they play in the NorCal, and the next 2 years they play in Southern California. So we played Riverside, and we lost to them. The second year, we only lost 2 games in the preseason and the state championship game again. So in 2 years, we went about 70 wins and about 6 losses, only 2 regular season losses. So we went 70-2. So if we beat a team by 15 or 20 points, that was close. We were smashing people. We were just like, people hated to see us. But then what happened in the summertime, we'd play against professional athletes, Jason Kidd, Steve Nash, Sharif Abdul-Rahim. Dad would take me up to, I'd drive up to Kezar and play in the San Francisco Pro-Am. We'd play against Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Jason Kidd, all these guys. And I was just like, let me just stay out of the way, because you play with Jason Kidd, that ball's going to hit you in the forehead and you're not even going to see it coming. So it was just that another level. I'm like, man, high school, I don't think I could play in junior college. Junior college, I don't think I could play in college. College, I don't think I could play with the pros. And as you get this experience, you gradually adapt to those the perseverance and pushing through those things. But that junior college year, so we ended up winning those 2 games. Went to a junior college exposure camp in Las Vegas. And a cool story is after my freshman year, we went to a junior college exposure camp in Vegas, had an amazing show out. We look in the gym and there's Georgetown and Bill Frieder and John Thomas, everybody, John Wooden, every junior college, UCLA, Arizona State, Temple, St. John's, all that stuff. So had a great turnout. Come back at the beginning of my sophomore year, my coach, he's kind of handing out letters to other players. Here's Santa Clara, here's San Jose State, here's some local stuff. He basically drops a printer box on my desk, and he's like, what's this? I couldn't see what was in it. He's like, this is your recruiting. That thing was half full, dude. It was Georgetown, it was UCLA, it was Washington State, Kansas State, Duke, North Carolina. And I was like, they want me? He's like, yep, I just kept it out of you because I didn't want you to get a big head about yourself. I was like, this is embarrassing. Like, and you open it, and it's probably 250, 300 letters from top colleges and stuff like that. So it gave me a lot of confidence. It's like, man, I am better than I actually think I am. I should start playing with more confidence, kind of stuff. So,
all right. So how did you end up at Arizona? Talk about that.
My junior college coach, Burton, he's like, if you come back your sophomore year, I promise you'll be able to pick any college that you want to go play, geographically, wherever. He's like, where do you want to play geographically? I was like, probably on the West Coast. I don't want to go back East Coast. It's cold. I want to be close to mom and dad. He's like, all right, so you're thinking the Pac-10. I was like, the Pac-10 or the Big West? He's like, no, Big West, no. You're going to the Pac-10. And I was like, you think so? He's like, oh, 100%. So it came down to University of Arizona and Oregon. They came in, and, you know, when you get those phone calls, the phone starts ringing. You're like, oh, man, I only did it for like a week, and then you're kind of just tired of hearing it all. Ended up having 2 options, University of Oregon and doing a recruiting visit. Chose Arizona to go down there. They picked me up from the airport. Miles Simon, Jason Terry, we all go to like this little buffet to eat something at the university. Then we go out. We go to a fraternity. All of a sudden, the football players, a fight breaks out. Furniture starts moving. Some dude throws a Coors Light, skips off the table, hits me in the Charlie horse. I'm limping out of the fraternity house. Let's go to this other spot. We go to the Cat House. If you've been to Tucson, everybody in the 90s, everybody knows about the Cat House. And we go there, and I think Kenny Lofton was there, and he had some speaker system, like a Range Rover or something, and that thing was whoa, whoa. Like everybody's cars were just like standing around just watching it. So then we go down to 6th Avenue until about 2 o'clock in the morning, shots fired in the parking lot. The next morning, I go back to Coach Jesse Evans, and he says, I tell him the story. He's like, man, I hope that doesn't discourage you from coming to Arizona. I was like, man, I don't even need to see Oregon. I'm coming here. It's done. It's a wrap. So once we go back to the hotel, and they had the hotel like with all the University of Arizona gear. Actually, I got a little some memorabilia I got some pins, the hat, the tickets from the Final Four and some stuff. So I got 2 shadow boxes here. But so I go back to the hotel, and we're at La Paloma Resort, and it's got like 3 PGA golf courses. I go in, about to clean up, sit down on the toilet. I look to my right, and there's a telephone right there. I call my mom. I was like, man, Mom, you should see this place. It's so luxurious. There's a telephone next to the toilet. I'm coming to Arizona. So that was kind of like my story. And everyone's just like, that's the reason why it wasn't the basketball. I was like, no, it's all the amenities, all the extra stuff that we get.
There you go.
Yeah.
So you like the facilities, you like the players, everybody made you felt at home. Talk about the coach, Lou Olson at the time. What type
Lou Olson is a gem. He is a Tucson was Snowden, and then Tucson wasn't. Tucson, in some ways, you can call it Tuscum because there's a lot of dust everywhere. It's cleaned up a lot since I've been there, but Tucson is a very special place in my heart. I actually just went back, not this weekend, but the weekend before, and we do an annual Lou Olson fantasy camp. It's basically where me, Donnell Harris, Gene Edgerson, AJ Bramlett, Pete Williams, this year Sean Elliott, and Kenny Lofton came through. And so what we do is we have about 8 coaches. We break off in 4 different teams and 2 coaches per team of ex-players. And then they have about 35 to 45 people from Tucson or Phoenix that are University of Arizona alumni, love the Lou Olson area, and they pay certain packages to be able to come down and play in a tournament. So we go out, they get warmed up. We have at lunchtime, we do a mock draft. We're like, I want him. We go out, we pick our teams, coach them for about a half an hour. Here's our fast break and offenses. And then we get right into games. And then we go out, have drinks, wake up the next day, hungover. We start coaching 2 more games on a Saturday. We go out, hanging out, go back to the hotel, sit at the pool, drink some more. And then Sunday we do the finals and we fly out, and it's an amazing time. We do this, I think it's the 7th or 8th annual one, and I've been to about 6 of them. So it's one of those, Lou Olson was a father figure. So, I mean, I want to get that story out because Lou Olson was really a father figure, but he was also not a mayor, not a mascot, but he was more of a John Wooden style. Dean Smith was a legend. But at the same time, he never swore. Every time he would say something, it was almost like he was thinking about it 5 seconds before, and he had a strategy. Every day he'd have his list of paper, and he'd be like, all right, put on 6 minutes. We're going to fast break. We're doing this for 6 minutes. We're shooting free throws. All right, we're doing this. And he comes in, and there is a schedule. He's going off to Los Angeles, and he's doing seminars for 200 coaches that are learning how to put on a full court press, how to break a full court press, those types of things. But he really brought in, I mean, even though that me and Pete Williams and Joe Turner and Craig McMillan, we didn't all play together, we still have a very much of a brotherhood because a lot of us may go to the NBA, some of us may go overseas. When I went overseas my first year, Pete Williams was already playing in Turkey. Hey, Coach Olson calls Pete Williams. Hey, Pete, I got a young kid, Bennett Davison. He's gonna be over there. Can you kind of take him under your wing and stuff? And within 2 days, Pete reaches out to me, takes me out to dinner. Kind of just, it's a when you have a parent trying to pass on their child onto someone when they turn 17, 18, they're really looking for someone to be able to say, hey, I entrust you and I hold some of the same values because I'm giving you my most prized possession. I hope you mold him like I would like him, like I've molded him so far. So Lou Olson 100% has legendary status. He has a father figure status. He has the respect of Tucson and Arizona and the basketball community. He was an amazing man. Yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about the Arizona Wildcat basketball team. Who was the first? You say Jason Terry, you met him first and a couple other guys. Talk about the locker room presence with the players at the time. You coming from, community college. It's your junior year now. You're getting settled into the new offense. Did you start right away? Who was the guy on the team that welcomed you to Arizona?
Well, when you get recruited, it's almost like if you're going to go to when Tom Brady is a quarterback for the New England Patriots, are you going to want to be the draft pick? Because you're not getting any burn, right? Yep. So for me, Arizona had lost Corey Williams and Reggie Gary and Damon Sotomayor, Joseph Blair, Ben Davis. They had lost all seniors. They lost like 5 or 6 seniors. Yep. So the only juniors were Miles Simon and Michael Dickerson. And then they needed a junior. They needed someone with that experience. So I fit in perfectly. it was one of those things where we had 3 juniors, and then we had A.J. Bramlett and Jason Terry as sophomores. We had a couple other sophomores that were playing, didn't play as much. And then we had a whole bunch of freshmen, Mike Bibby, Gene Ederson, and Donnell Harris. He was also a sophomore.
Okay.
And so we had a very young team. And so they needed someone with that experience. And from when I was in junior college, I was ranked in I think it's Street Smith All-American. I was me and Ruben Patterson were the #1 players, and he went to Cincinnati and all that stuff. And we were ranked as the #1 junior college players in the nation. So for me, Coach Olsen comes in, he's got his Pac-10, he's like, we need you. Like, we need you. Like, we have no seniors. You're going to come in, you're going to start, and we need you to start. If you can't start, then that's going to be your fault, but we're going to put you in a position to succeed. So those players came there. The locker room, imagine a cage full of puppies. It was just, and telling them to calm down. We were doing all kinds of stupid stuff. Practical joking. Hey, what's up? I don't know, what's up? What's up? And you just do just the dumb teenage stuff that you do as you're in college. I mean, I've matured so much since then, but the locker room presence, we'd have, certain people would be the butt of jokes. We would have walk-ons. We'd have all this stuff. And we had one kid, John Ash, who was from Tucson. And I remember him getting his jersey, and he sits there and he's like, man, I've been waiting for it. And I just remember sitting next to him and having that ability to share that moment where he's like, man, I grew up in Tucson watching this stuff. My parents had all University of Arizona. We used to go to the Lute Olson basketball camps. And now I'm actually on the team as a walk-on. Josh Passner came in as a little Jewish kid. He's like, I didn't have contacts with Dean Smith, Wooden, all these guys. And they were like, who's this Josh kid? He didn't drink soda. He always used to walk around turning the lights off in the apartment. And just this kid that was so focused on what he wanted. He had an unburning desire, and we saw that. And so we'd go to Josh, and he's like, hey, I'm having shooting practice after our practices. We don't go home, finish up our homework, and we drive back to the gym and just work on shot doctrine. Hey, no, you turn your hand in. You turn your hand out. Hey, follow through. Those proper follow through form. And it really was one of those things where everybody was there. We didn't have any troublemakers. One thing Lute Olson always said, I would rather have good kids from good homes and good talent than amazing athleticism and just don't come in with the right mindset. He was really big on if coming from a good place, I need to meet your parents, and I also want to know who you are and have an interview and talk to you and just see how you communicate. Are you an open guy? Because when you're in Tucson, you got to do a lot of interviews. You got to do public appearances. You've got to go to talk to youth basketball. You got to do summer camps. There's all these things that you do to be seen and put out in the community. So the locker room was very, it was pure. I mean, it was like we were there for basketball and some education. No, we were there, but for the education side of things, we'd always have the same classes. But it became such a thing where, in the beginning of the year, they checked to see if we were in classroom, just like they do at any university. Yep. I showed up to every single class. I don't think I ever missed a class. And I was living with Miles Simon, so I'd get him up. Just holding each other accountable, just like you do on the court. It was one of the better experiences of this is one of the highest level, non-tainted, NIL, like nowadays, basketball before it goes pro, where things become a business instead of just that highest level of pure sports and basketball.
Yeah. So your senior year is when you guys went to the Final Four and won the championship, correct?
Yes. Yep. We got lucky. We beat 3 #1 seeds, and we got 6. We put 6 good games together.
You did. So talk about the work ethic from Terry and Mike Bibby at the time. How did they lead the team? Because they was jacking up a lot of threes.
Yeah, very different players. Jason Terry is Jason Kidd. He is get that ball in his first 3 steps. He's already past half court. Lickety split. I think he led the Pac-10 or the nation in steals. Yeah. Mike Bibby was like right behind him in the Pac-10. I was right behind Mike Bibby. I think I still hold the record for Arizona most steals. Is 9 steals in one game against Stanford at home. That's like the only, besides messing up Lute Olson's hair and those 9 steals, I think that's the only record because there's so much talent that comes through University of Arizona. Mike Bibby has these hands. They're almost like he has another digit on his finger, and he's just where I grew up playing soccer, and he was the same way, but with basketball, and had that coaching was put in, and his dad was an NBA player. So you can always rely on those two to get the ball over court. Miles Simon, his basketball IQ is just out of this world. He's now the head assistant coach for the Suns. Michael Dickerson was the silent ninja. We called him Mike Diesel. This dude could put up like 445s on an incline and just rack it out, and he'd just stand there. And then at the same time, he'd be in the locker room. Where's Mike D at? He's like, oh, there he is. Dude never talked. He was a silent assassin. But then you can't get Jason Terry to shut up. So he's always joking, that type of stuff. AJ Bramlett, me, Jason Terry, and AJ Bramlett were roommates my senior year. So there's always some kind of action going on, people coming over, community type of stuff, barbecuing, playing video games, Tomb Raider and Sonic the Hedgehog and Crash Bandicoot, all the good stuff back in the day. So just the character on the court where we were so focused, but off the court, we were also doing things together. We were staying out of trouble together. We go to house gatherings and we make sure that someone was a DD. Like, it was one of those things that you look back and you were in college, like, I did the worst things ever. We were pretty like, hey, we need to stay focused. We're in a small town. We can't do anything to be draw any attention to ourselves.
Yeah, correct.
And I think that played out on the court because during that tournament, we had 6 wins. And I think if you took the points between those 6 games, except for the overtime against Kentucky, I think you added up, it was like win by 2, win by 1, win by 1, win by 3, win by 2, win by 1. It was like a collection of 11 points out of those 6 games. So we're actually the only we're the only team ever to beat 3 number 1 seeds. You can't get any higher than that. So we hold that record. I think that we need to do a 30-30 on our team because we were one of those teams that's just like, what happened with this team? What happened? It was like the Moneyball. How did he get those players to get that result to be able to win 27 games in a row? How did Arizona go out and win 6 games when they were 4 number seeds and we lost the last 3 games of our regular season basketball? So it was one of those anomalies that was just set up perfectly. And at the end of the game, we're all waiting for the interviews to finish. We're like, all right, who we got next? Like, we're the number 1 team in the nation. Us? A bunch of dick tapping, practical joke, food fighting, video game nerding, thinking we're cool, pegging our pants, that type of stuff. That was us. And it was just, we go back to Tucson and we got Sean Elliott and Iguodala and Shannon Fry and all these guys. And it's like, hey, you guys may have the bigger bank accounts, but we're the only ones that win the national championship. So we are the best team Arizona's ever had. Don't you forget it.
Right. So we're going to go ahead to the clip of the national championship game, and I'm going to come back with some more questions. For everybody that's watching, make sure you subscribe on YouTube, follow us on Spotify, Deezer, and Facebook. Also on Instagram as well. We have former national champion, 1997 Arizona Wildcat forward, Bennett Davison. All right, stay with me, Ben. We'll be right back. I don't own the rights to the clips or the music in it. Make sure we don't get flagged. All right, we're going to go ahead and get to it.
Arizona in the dark blue uniforms. And Simon almost stole the tip, but Kentucky controls. Kentucky 35-4, Arizona 24-9 on the year. McLaurin was ready to go up for a 3rd attempt. Bibby in traffic scores the game's first points. Terrific. Simon turnaround
inside the zone. There's Davison with that quick leaping ability.
Yeah, they break early. No problem with the press. Bramlett for 2 and a free throw.
Now, that's what I was talking about before, Jim. Team speed.
The rest of this Arizona team that played a lot of minutes with tireless though. And there's Dickerson. He trips on Patino after burying the 3.
But you do not want the ball down in deep in the corners against Kentucky.
Simon splits the defenders beautifully.
On Saturday.
Bibby, 3-pointer. He hit 6 of them Saturday. He continues to sizzle.
An excellent job when they don't get the ball down so low. One of the reasons for it is Simon's such a great guy to catch the ball.
And look at the soft roll. Simon now with 9 points, leading the way. Terry, open 3, got it. Man who slept in his uniform last night. Jason Terry. Bibby. Oh, he loves the second half.
And he loves that side of the floor.
Simon, good save. Good move by Miles Simon.
They would have been at full strength at the start of the year. Plus, it's a very young team, so it's come on strong. How about that move?
Got it. Good shot.
Lute Olson.
The first is now 4, and off the steal, they're looking for more. Simon in traffic, followed up by Harris.
And there's the team speed.
In trouble, and Prickett tried to bounce it off his leg. Bibby in the right spot.
That is the second time that Kentucky is leapers in college ball.
Stolen back by Terry. To Simon, slicing in for 2.
Going right to the hoop.
Harris left open to tie it with a jam.
Baked down defensively by Kentucky.
Simon over Muhammad.
Always finds a way to help his team.
Terry, three-point shot. Oh, what a big one.
Over Padgett.
Terry right back with the pick.
There's that team quickness again.
Bibby open 3 in Arizona. 62-59.
Jim.
Davison baseline blocked by Turner. They got it back.
And a foul from behind. Yes, it will be.
On Muhammad. Simon in the lane. Puts it back in front. Kentucky loses Prickett and Turner to fouls. Four-point lead for Arizona with a minute to play.
0 for 2 here. Try to get Mercer in the action on a rub. Here he comes.
Mercer 3. Got it! Down the 1. The freshman's mind. He starts the dribble at 8. Now drives in, dishes. Davison banks it home.
That was a bad matchup for Kentucky.
Kentucky needs a 3 to tie. Epps fires it. Got it! Game's tied at 74.
All right, I'm back.
Yeah.
Someone called me just now.
Oh, perfect time, all right.
You know what I'm saying?
Arizona in the dark blue uniforms, and Simon almost stole the tip, but Kentucky controls. Kentucky 35-4, Arizona 24-9 on the year. McLaurin was ready to go up for a third attempt. Bibby in traffic scores the game's first points.
Terrific.
Simon turnaround.
Inside the zone. There's Davison with that quick leaping ability.
Yeah, they break early. No problem with the press. Bramlett for 2 and a free throw.
Now, that's what I was talking about before, Jim. Team speed.
The rest of this Arizona team that played a lot of minutes with tireless though. And there's Dickerson. He trips on Patino after burying the 3.
But you do not want the ball down in deep in the corners against Kentucky.
Simon splits the defenders beautifully.
On Saturday.
Bibby, three-pointer. He hit 6 of them Saturday. He continues to sizzle.
Excellent job when they don't get the ball down so low. One of the reasons for it is Simon's such a great guy to catch the ball.
Look at the soft roll. Simon now with 9 points, leading the way. Terry, open 3, got it. Man who slept in his uniform last night. Jason Terry. Bibby. Oh, he loves the second half.
And he loves that side of the floor.
Simon, good save. Good move by Miles Simon.
They would have been at full strength at the start of the year. Plus, it's a very young team, so it's come on strong. How about that move?
Got it. Good shot.
Lute Olson.
The first is now 4, and off the steal, they're looking for more. Simon in traffic, followed up by Harris.
And there's the team speed.
in trouble. And Prickett tried to bounce it off his leg. Bibby in the right spot.
That is the second time that Kentucky leapers in college ball.
Stolen back by Terry. To Simon, slicing in for two.
It's gone right to the hoop.
Harris left open to tie it with a jam.
Baked down defensively by Kentucky.
Simon over Muhammad.
Always finds a way to help his team.
Terry, three-point shot. Oh, what a big one.
Over Padgett.
Terry right back with the pick.
There's that team quickness again.
Bibby open three in Arizona. 62-59.
Jim.
Davison baseline blocked by Turner. They got it back.
And a foul from behind. Yes, it will be.
On Muhammad. Simon in the lane. Puts it back in front. Kentucky loses Prickett and Turner to fouls. Four-point lead for Arizona with a minute to play.
For two here. Try to get Mercer in the action on a rub. Here he comes.
Mercer three. Got it! Down the one. The freshman's mind. He starts the dribble at 8. Now drives in, dishes. Davison banks it home.
That was a bad matchup for Kentucky.
Kentucky needs a 3 to tie. Epps fires it. Got it! Game's tied at 74.
Press.
Simon drives. Simon shoots. No call. Padgett with the rebound.
Terry with a steal.
Not in time. They ruled off the shot. We're going to overtime.
It was so interesting. More to go after this. That game was not yet over.
All 8 points in overtime for Arizona have come from the line. For Simon, when he's done at the line, he will have had as many attempts tonight as the Kentucky team, 17.
20, 17, 30, 24, and then tonight, the big night.
There will be no repeat. Bills with the 3 and a timeout. Who else but Simon? They're not going to foul him. It's only right. The ball's in his hands. A milestone victory for Arizona.
Simon says championship.
Yes, sir. We back.
Oh, to be young again.
I saw you rub on Lou Olson's head. I remember watching that game live at home. I probably was at my grandmother's house watching that game. It was one of the closest games I ever watched. I remember Christian Laettner hit that shot against Kentucky a couple years prior.
Yeah.
I think that game and this game was so close, and y'all just, shot the lights out the gym that day.
Goodness. Playing with those guys, it makes basketball look easy, right?
Yeah. So, they did it in the NBA as well, too. So, testament to the hard work. We're going to go ahead and get into this one shining moment and highlight all the teams that you guys had to go against real quick. And then we'll come back and ask some more questions, okay?
Standing.
All right.
Is tipped, there you are. You're running for your life. You're a shooting star. And all those years, no one knows just how hard you work. But now it shows that one shining moment you reach deep inside. In one shining moment, you knew you were alive. Feel the beat of your heart, feel the wind in your face. It's more than a contest, it's more than a race. When it's done, win or lose, you always did your best, 'cause inside you knew that one shining moment you reached for the sky. One shining moment you knew. One shining moment you're willing to try. One shining moment you knew. One shining moment.
Yeah.
We're back. All I remember back then, the announcer kept saying, "Simon says, Simon
Simon
says."
says.
You just taking
How
it
old,
to.
how old were you?
I was 16, about to be 17.
Okay, so yeah, influential. Those are your good years.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So I think that was around the time what's that? Sunset Park came out or something like that.
Who?
If I'm not mistaken, I can't remember, but
Say the name again.
The movie Sunset Park.
Yes.
That came out around that era, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So
there was was it White Men Can't Jump also? Was that kind of that? That might have
that
been
was
a couple of years before that.
That was like 92, 93, I think.
Okay.
Woody Harrelson and Snipes and Rosie Perez. But so just talk about that moment right there when you guys took it to overtime when the guy hit the 3-pointer to send it to overtime for Kentucky. What was your feeling at that time?
At that time, you're just kind of like, we have nothing to lose. Let's just go out and have the best time of our lives. That place is massive. It's actually a football stadium. So if you ever stood on a field like we went to the AT&T Center out in Arlington, that thing is massive. And then going into the RCA Dome, and you have this little court with these portable stuff, and then Arizona is this tiny little section, and then everything else is Kentucky. So it's a little tiny thing of Arizona, and then everything else in Kentucky. And it's one of those things you just got to – it's all reactionary. I mean, you just got to play. I mean, like if someone's open, you pass it to them. If you feel high pressure, you got to back the retreat dribble. I just look at myself, even just 2 years after playing professionally, I got so much better just playing to get like that level. And then I remember in my second year, I came back and played in a EA Sports exposure thing, and coming back and playing against college kids, how much easier it was. I look at myself and compare myself to Jason Terry, Miles Simon, Mike Bibby. They were so ready for that moment where I was a really good role player. That makes sense? So I wasn't going to have plays where I was dribbling the ball down. I wasn't going to have plays, but I had to fit in where I could get. And my thing was I could guard the 5 to the 1. Yep. I was just as quick as any of those guys. If we had to guard some guys that were 7'4", and I had to guard Brevin Knight that was 6'1" and a point guard. So everything about that team was interchangeable. So we could always switch. We knew each other's patterns. We knew each other's sensitive spots, who to get the ball to at those times. Miles was one of those, like I said, his IQ. I mean, just the fact that he's like, I'm not going to get to the rim. Let me get those free throw line floaters. Dude, it kept us in the game. From contesting every shot. I watched the whole game, and it had already been in Tucson. We had a Pathways Out of Poverty kind of a fundraising event to help families transition from homelessness into low-income housing. And we did a showing, and I'd never watched the game, and that was 2017, something like that. And it was, 20 years later, and we were on every single pick and roll. There was no open shots. It was like, man, this was pretty much one of our best teams. Like we watch it, we're in a lot of errors, and in games like that, it's about who can have the least amount of errors and capitalize on those errors. And it's about making sure they don't get any second rebounds, making our free throws, and that's truly what happened. Is we won on 8 free throws, and just being able to communication, control, and
All right, cool.
It came together for us. And that's what the March Madness is about. How many times has a team been like, this is the greatest team ever, the Kansas and Paul Pierce and Vince Carter? First of all, I did get dunked on by Vince Carter. So it was on a zone. I'm sitting on the back left side of the zone, and we ran this play called North Carolina at West Valley for me. So so I'm sitting there, and they swing the ball to the left side. I close out, force him baseline. He goes like this. I got up, and I was like, hold on, I recognize this play. Ball comes, goosh! I just get smashed on. So I'm famous for getting also dunked on by Vince Carter. We've all been dunked on if you play sports. So exactly. I had to throw that in there. I was like, I recognize this play. Oh, there's his shorts.
Hey, Vince did it to everybody, man. He did it to everybody. So he was the hero.
Dunked on by the best.
Yes, sir. So let's go ahead and talk about, after the championship, did you go to NBA tryout or combine or anything like that, a pro day?
Yeah, so I got invited to Chicago. We did the combine. They do that thing where you just basically speed walk up and down an escalator. They check your bones and x-rays. They do the full physical. There were some big names in there. Vince Carter, Antoine Jameson, Mike Bibby, Keith Van Horn, Rafe LaFrance, I think Scott Potter was a year before that. So we had some big names in there. My agent knew that I was, and it was also a lockout year, so things were kind of messed up. So I was going to be one of those border players. I would have. So I ended up going over to Europe for an exposure camp and signed with an Istanbul, Turkey team. So for the next 5 years, so I ended up going to Istanbul, Galatasaray, and then came back into the summer league with the Grizzlies. Yep. And then the second year I went to Melbourne, Australia, played with Andrew Gaze, Leonard Copeland, Mark Bradkey. They had played in the NBA for the 76ers, the San Antonio Spurs, and Andrew Gaze actually got a championship ring that year. Okay. Then I came back and did the summer league with the Warriors. Yep. Went off and played 2 years in Slovenia, which was in the Super Cup in the EuroLeague. Slovenia is where Luka Doncic and his father, Sasa Doncic, I played with Sasha Doncic, and I knew Luka when he was about 3 to 4 years old. So he would be running around the games and that type of stuff and run into a table. He's like, "Arr!" And he'd just get right back at it. He's just hard-nosed. Serbians are people from the earth. They're legit. So then I came back and did the next 2 years with the Lakers. Really only had one opportunity. It was either me or Devin George. And they went with Devin George, a good player. But we were pretty much statistically and physically the same. You're going to be a support cast if you're playing with Kobe and Shaq and those guys. So just stay out of the way and do the best to be able to get them the ball. So after the 5th year of summer leagues, I was like, I'm gonna finish off and I'm gonna spend my summer times doing personal training and staying in shape that way, but let my body rest a little bit, bike ride and things like that. So I really, really want, everybody has that dream of going to the NBA, but I remember also coming back during the Australia and Slovenia years, trying out for that new G League, which was like, hey, they're only going to pay about $30,000, blah, blah, blah. You may get called up. Only 8 people get called up. And so I go there and I say, hey, guys, what have you been up to? What have you been up to? They're like, I've been trying to do this G League. I'm making $30,000. Like, I'm living in Australia making $150,000. I'm in Turkey making, $180,000. I'm traveling the world. Like, man, that sounds like a great job. I was like, yeah, you can chase an NBA dream, or you get there's probably better actors on Broadway than there are in Hollywood, but the Hollywood people make that money. So I was good enough to be able to play. Was I going to be a star out there? No, I was going to be a good role player, a Shane Battier, a Devin George, someone to go out there, be a support cast, go out, get 10 to 12 points and 6 to 8 rebounds. But I know people that sign $1 million contracts for less stats than that. So am I butthurt? No. I got 12 years playing international basketball. Then I went to Naples, Italy for 2 years, lived on Mount Vesuvius and lived on a volcano, traveled with my ex-wife, and had 3 daughters overseas, Maya, Kiara, Talia. They're off at Georgetown playing soccer. Kiara's in Loyola doing education and arts and journalism. And Talia is a 6-foot volleyball player here in Highland Park, and she's about to probably head off to California somewhere in college. So the journey has been amazing. So it's 12 years, and now I'm a high school teacher in Mesquite, and I do personal training and enjoy coaching these kids basketballs because I can no longer physically do it myself. So,
I feel you. All right, we're gonna go and get some highlights from the NBL and Euro Basket League.
Yep.
Got some dunk highlights on this one. Again, I don't own the rights to the video or the music. You guys make sure you subscribe to our channel, YouTube, Spotify, Deezer, Instagram, and also follow us on Facebook. We got 1997 national champion with the Arizona Wildcats, forward Bennett, Davison. All right, let's go ahead and get into it. Stay with me, David.
Things take me up high. You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me? So won't you take me up high? You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me? Things take me up high. You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me? Touch me with your fingers. Business so kind of. Touch me with your fingers. Every time you kiss my lips. Touch me with your fingers. Business so kind of. Every time you kiss my lips. Touch me with your fingers. Business so kind of. So won't you take me up high? You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me? Things take me up high. You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me? Touch me with your fingers. Business so kind of. Every time you kiss my lips. Touch me with your fingers. Business so kind of. Things take me up high. You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me? Things take me up high. You'll never hold me. So won't you lay here by me?
I think you still got it, man.
man, I wouldn't. If I did that stuff right now, I probably wouldn't be able to walk for 3 weeks. My lower back is shot. My knees and ankles are good. I've actually transitioned out of basketball and soccer. Now I do like goalkeeping for futsal and a lot of sand volleyball. It's easier on the body. One of the doctors says, hey, you can either go running and have pain in your back or go ride your bike and go swimming. You just got to transition and change sports. So I'm still I'm still the same weight I was when I retired 14 years ago.
Wow, that's awesome. So what is your message to the youth, Bennett?
You've got to have a focus. I always share this story. When I was 6 years old, my mom was very big into putting things out into the universe. And we went to San Francisco and got these kind of jawbreaker, rainbow-colored little swirly candles and lit the candle. And it was, what do you want to be? What is your focus? My sister was 4 years old. She's like, I want to be a ballerina. I say, that's the dumbest dream or wish I've ever heard. Why would you say that? I'm a big, mean brother. And I was like, Mom, I want to be a professional soccer player. And she says, well, your education, the choices you make, the interactions with people, you can't, good kid doing stupid stuff, but I get in little fights and tussles, but we all did when we were that age. And he's like, every choice that you make, you have to recognize that could affect me positively and negatively, because I was more of a reactionary individual. And you've got to be able to have a burning desire to want something, to be able to, how do I get to college? Hey, do you guys have a scholarship? No, I found out. I had questions that I needed answers, and we went out and found people that knew it. So if you like biology, if you like seahorses. I don't care what it is. You have to find something that you're focused on, that you have a burning desire that you're going to do whether you get paid or not. I was going to play sports whether I got paid or not. I also recognized that as I got older, sophomore, junior, senior, I wasn't going to be able to develop the way I wanted to, so I had to go to the junior college and play against college kids. When I was a junior college kid, I had to go play against professionals, so I tried to read that pyramid get slightly smaller. You've got to have a plan for that desire, and you've also got to be able to say, how am I going to feed that desire? And a lot of that comes from education. And so education and athleticism, whether it be football, baseball, basketball, you've got to have both of those in mind. And I know that I've talked to a lot of people that say, I didn't have the family support to go to a junior college and be able to travel with me to these games. And it does take a lot of family support, stuff that I recognize now. But back then I was like, hey, Mom, when are we going to go visit a college? Well, I got to teach. Your dad's got to work, all that stuff. So finding a good community, finding a burning desire, and someone who can guide you, find a mentor. I would say that's one of the three biggest things that you've got to be able to do and keep pursuing. I mean, I'm 48 years old. I'm still teaching kids. I'm trying to pass my social studies certification test. I've got my personal training. I've got my physical education. I've got health and nutrition for schools. So I'm starting my 6th year as a teacher here in the Dallas Independent School District. And throughout these years, I achieved that goal of becoming a professional athlete. Now it's like, what is that passion that I want to wake up and teaching in kids is that I really enjoy these sophomore, juniors, and seniors in high school. They're fun to relate to. They're a lot easier than those 6th and 7th graders where they're always just wiggling and touching and reaching out, doing that stuff around everybody. So that's where I'm at right now. And that's my message to the youth.
All right. Any shout outs before we head out? Anybody like to take along your journey?
Coach Bob Burton. First of all, I want to thank my mom. First of all, so, I mean, she's amazing. She's a very patient, and you have to be with, if your last name is Davison. A funny story is I asked Mom, I was like, Mom, you know, I wouldn't be here without you. You know, I got to Arizona, I got a scholarship. It's probably $100,000 scholarship. So I feel like I'm saving you guys money. So $100,000 scholarship, let's split that in half. You guys write me a check for $50,000. We'll call it even. She didn't go for that. So for me, I want to thank my mom. She's a very loving, nurturing, and gifted at her ability to communicate, educate, and to be able to love and care for everyone around her. Dad, thank you for being able to come back into my life, straighten me out, and you did turn me from a crazy young boy into the man I am today. So thank you. My 3 daughters, Maya, Kiara, Talia, you guys are out there. Love you very much. You're here in Dallas, and you're off in college exploring the world and living your best life. Nothing but love and exceptions for you. At the same time, just for the people and my ex-teammates and the Lute Olson Fantasy Camp and my friends down here in Dallas, Texas, the volleyball community, just for me, I'm a communal person, and I love that. So even for you to reach out to me and to be able to be inquisitive still, 25 years after 1997 national champion. Is that 25? That's almost 30 years. Damn. Anyways, no, just for you to be able to be inquisitive and inquire about where I'm at today. And for me, being a teacher, but I also have a YouTube channel myself. It's a lot of interviews. So for FIBA, it's specifically for FIBA, International Basketball Association players internationally. I have about 100 interviews where I've talked to people just like we're doing right now. And hey, you played for Real Madrid. What's the team like? Do they take care of you? Do they provide equipment? Do they pay you on time? How was your experience? And would you recommend this to a player that has a contract offer next year? You're in Mongolia. You're in Australia. Do they pay on time? Do they have a chauffeur? Do they give you a car? What is that experience? And so I interview them on those 3 topics and go there if you have a team that's offering you a contract and you're an international basketball player, check it out. It's called Euro Hoop Life Podcast.
What was the best cuisine you had overseas? I know a lot of food is different from your states when you go over there, but what was your favorite? Mine
by far was the Italian mozzarella di bufalo. It is almost like a mozzarella ball that if you cut into it, actually some of the milk squeezes out of it, and you have it with prosciutto, the meat, the dried deli meat, and you cut into it, and it is the most exquisite because they take that mozzarella and then they soak it in this buffalo, mozzarella de buffalo. It's a buffalo milk, and it has this certain tincture. It's only from Caserta, Avellino, where Tony Soprano was from. It's all there in that Napolitano area. So we lived there for 2 years. It is by far, if you ever go to Naples, Italy, get a mozzarella de buffalo with prosciutto. Okay. The weirdest food that I've ever heard of was I was interviewing a guy on Your Hoop Life podcast about being in Mongolia. So he goes out there. He's there for 3 days. He said it's like negative 30 degrees, so he had to walk like a half mile to the gym from the place. He comes back. On the counter, there's a horse leg. He's like, hoofs, hair, knuckles, everything. He's like, man, what the heck is this? And so he's living in this apartment with a common area with 4 other little apartments on the side of it. He's like, this is what you're eating for the next few days. He's like, I'm not eating horse leg. He's like, that's all we got. So for the next 3 days, he ate rice and vegetables, and he started like, I need some protein. I started getting hungry and not being able to practice long enough. So he started eating horse meat. So that's probably one of the weirdest situations. I was like, man, why is there a freshly dead horse leg in my? He's like, this is our meal. He's like, well, so these are the things you want to know about where you're going. If you're going to Mongolia to play basketball, you might have to eat some horse leg.
Wow, man. Hey, man, well, it was great having you on the show, man. Would you recommend any of your teammates to come on this podcast?
Oh, absolutely. 2 years ago, I did the TBT, the basketball tournament with Mike Bibby. Yeah. I had to shoot. He's got a podcast going on right now. I'll send him a message. AJ Bramlett's in Albuquerque. He's raising 2 sons. He's got 2 sons that are very talented at basketball. They're out there looking like Jeff Shepard and Jason Terry out there hitting, striking threes. So AJ would probably get on there. Donnell Harris, and a couple of maybe some Pete Williams, some of the older guys. He's probably going to be at Arizona back in 88, 89 for our older viewers here. But, yeah, any way I can help, and we've been communicating for the last 2 months, and we'll continue this relationship here.
Yeah, for people that have been watching, me and Bennett share the same birthday. November 1st, 5 years.
It's weird. We were just sitting there talking about it. Every time we see a movie, it's like November 20th.
Yeah.
November 22nd. No, why don't they ever pick November? We are the last day of Scorpio. That's why. We're the truest Scorpios on Earth.
We are the borderline of Sagittarius. Crazy, right?
Good stuff.
Hey, man, but it was nice talking to you.
Jermaine, thank you.
Coming on the show. You brought so many memories back as a teenager in high school, watching you guys win the championship. I would love to have some of your teammates on as well. And for everybody just watching, make sure you subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Spotify, Deezer, and also follow us on Facebook. I'd like to thank my guest today, former Arizona Wildcat, 1997 national champion forward, Bennett Davison. All right?
Jermaine, thank you. Appreciate your time.
No problem. For everybody that's watching, you know our motto is not how you start, it's how you finish. Until the next time, you guys be safe, and we'll see you again. Appreciate it. Thanks. Appreciate it, David.
All right.